Welcome, everybody.
Hello. You're
Welcome to Art
frozen,
Jam.
but
Am
you're
I
back.
frozen again? I got to get this internet
It froze, and then you
situation.
spoke really, really quickly.
It's my new ability.
Ah, but here we are.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Art Jam. I'm Josh Herman. This is Alex Alvarez. We're going to be making
Mhm.
some stuff on stream today. Kind of hanging out and chatting for a little while. First, thanks for joining us. Hello from Poland, somebody says. Hello. I see some familiar
Oh,
faces in
there
the
we go.
stream.
I forgot that I moved that chat to that floating thing.
Oh,
There you
yeah.
go. Hello, Ash. Hello, Poland. So you said you were going to be making a scale today?
Insert brush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll
for the
show you that.
dragon.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep working on this today. I'm gonna pop this up. I was looking at a Instagram, which is pretty cool, called Lord of the Print. They're a 3D printing company, and
Okay.
they sell like basically preset models that you can basically buy, and they're 3D printing. They're on Instagram, and they had a bunch of cool stuff. Like there's cool designs and stuff in here, but did a bunch of dragons, and so I was looking at their dragons and they have all these really cool scales,
Yeah.
and I think they're just insert brushes
Probably with those
for these
undertones.
shapes.
Hmm.
So I thought that was interesting of how they were creating these lines and these insert brushes. So I might try to integrate some of this technique for this stuff because it ends up looking pretty cool.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm gonna,
awesome. So
so
they're
I'm gonna,
that's a 3D printing company, you said?
they sell basically the printable file.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically it has all the supports in it, and you can just basically go in and put it on your printer and hit go,
Okay.
which is kind of cool. So, but I liked their style of how they were making that, and it was something that was sticking out from mine because I was feeling like something was missing, and so I was doing some reference, and I was realizing like there's no large like shapes,
Yeah.
scale shapes. So I'm like, oh, it
Okay.
needs something like that, and that's what they had. So I quickly just did a test, and I basically made two fast scales of different size,
Hmm.
and then you can hit B, and you just hit make a insert multi mesh brush,
Yeah.
and then you come over to your thing. You have to make sure it has no subdivision levels on it. So delete that, and then you can have this brush, which we'll say is this one, and then you can just start dragging them on.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to play around with that. Obviously, that's not exactly what it'll be, but kind of the idea of these larger shapes and how you could kind of layer them seems like it could work.
Yeah. I mean, it'll work. It's time consuming.
It's time consuming. You're definitely doing it hand by scale, but
Yeah.
it'll work. So I'm going to probably use that for some of them rather than also trying to. The other issue I was having with this was like the amount of detail I had in it, like trying to come in here and sculpt like one scale. Might take a while as well. So I'm gonna
Right.
play around with brushes today and that kind
Cool.
of stuff. And you
Awesome.
worked on a cool Unreal 5 piece.
Yeah. I finally made the jump into five, which I kind of procrastinated for a while just because, during the fellowship, they were so like, don't use five. It's
Mm.
pre-release. It's got bugs. So that kind of made me feel like, I didn't really want to go down a road where things were gonna, you know, be problematic or have a lot of crashes and all that stuff. So I kind of kept putting it off, figuring I'd wait until there was like, some more because right now I think it's like early access too.
Hmm.
And then but then Aaron Sims' presentation last Thursday is what made me kind of make the jump because he was so like, nope, we're using five. We did the short in five. He even said that like Epic was surprised that Epic didn't know he was using five because I guess they hired him to make that short,
It seems like it, yeah.
but it seems like he kind of did it independently. Like once he wasn't necessarily working with them while he made it. So the fact
Hmm.
that they were surprised that he used five and were anyway. So it obviously worked because that short's super
Super
cool.
cool. Yeah.
And yeah, for those watching, if you don't know what we're talking about, Aaron Sims made a short called The Eye, which you can see on YouTube. and it's super super cool. Made in Unreal 5, and he says they made it in like 6 weeks, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was,
Mm-hmm.
a team of people, obviously. But so yeah, after I saw that, I was super inspired to finally like try 5 and see how
Mm-hmm.
it would go. And so yeah, so I've only been playing with 5 since Friday, but like the whole Lumen nanite thing
Yeah.
is super super cool. So it's I think I just open. I just got my Premiere file, which is just like rendered clips from it. I think my
Mm-hmm.
monitor's there. There we go. But this is like my first little test from I think Friday or Saturday, and
Mm-hmm.
it's super simple. But I was just like, does what's nanite and lumen like? So just using megascans, but the nanite megascans are huge.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
really?
Oh, I
Oh, I
think
think
you
you
have
have
sharing
sharing
audio
audio
on.
on.
I hear
I hear
myself
myself
when you
when you
shared your
shared your
screen.
screen. Ah, you hear yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me unstop sharing and reshare. Reshare without system audio.
Yeah.
There you
There we go. Yep.
go. But yeah, I mean, it's like an Unreal 4, which obviously was super cool. There was all these issues with lighting,
Mm-hmm.
which I know there's workarounds for, and people have done amazing things with 4. But like the whole baking thing, I think after being used to Redshift and V-Ray and like just proper ray trace rendering, it was pretty frustrating to like just deal with all the light baking. So Lumen is like a godsend. I mean, I haven't used it long enough to know what the issues are, but obviously the Aaron short, he said it worked fine, and his scene had a lot of stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing
Yeah,
complicated about this scene, but
he was even changing the lighting when we were there, like watching the video, and it was uh, fast. It was very fast.
so yeah, I mean, it basically is there's it kind of um, evolves the lighting over time, and
Mm-hmm.
it so like if you move the camera fast or move certain things fast around, like you can see it taking a second to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
But just the fact that there's no baking is super cool. Everything is dynamic.
Yeah.
So so I've just been downloading nanite stuff, and then I made this other one which I made last night,
Mm-hmm.
and then the same thing, just using lumen and nanite.
So is that just all Megascan stuff?
Yeah, it's not even that many pieces. I think because I just made this when I was watching Jared and Matt last night. So I think I've got like maybe I can see like 1, 2, 3, 4. I
Mm-hmm.
think there's like 5 or 6 megascans things in here. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So Clay just scattered it around and obviously put a cool sky. But yeah, I mean, just the fact that like you put lights in and move them around, and it's all super interactive. So it's switch over to Unreal. Let's see. Oh, this is like just like my first test scene, but you can see how like it took a second for the light to catch up when I opened the level. But then
Mm-hmm.
like but ultimately, it's just much more like you can see how there's this obvious like ambient occlusion underneath the rocks,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't have to enable ambient occlusion with Lumen. Like it just does
Mm-hmm.
that because it's sort of natural GI rendering.
Mm-hmm.
And so so certain things are like deprecated. So like meaning like using ambient occlusion is deprecated. So
Right.
that's the thing is like in the fellowship, I just used Unreal without ray tracing. Then for the last couple of months, I started learning all the ray tracing stuff. But then now that's all deprecated because Lumen replaces ray tracing. So you
Right.
don't actually have to have ray tracing on,
Hmm.
which is interesting. And so like the contact shadows, like we see on the ground, like you can see how the ground is darkening there,
Mm-hmm.
um, and has that ambient occlusion look is just part of Lumen. And
That's really
so
cool.
it's fucking awesome. So like if I create a post process volume or look at the post process volume in here, and go to render. There we go. So like, GI is set to lumen, reflections are set to lumen. So the reflections aren't set to ray tracing.
Hmm.
So, which is pretty cool. And so since it's basically, so if I go down to, reflections, ray traced is in there, but it says deprecated next to it,
Hmm.
which is funny because ray tracing is so new. I mean, it's only like
Right.
a couple of years old. So ultimately, I think it's just awesome that, things are as straightforward. Let me just move some stuff around. Let me open a different level. Yeah, see, so like it's dark, and then like you
Mm-hmm.
can see how the light's kind of evolving in the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like Lumen just takes a second for things to get to that point.
Is that a custom sky or is that a
Use
ultra
HDR.
dynamic or HDR?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like after playing, I mean, Ultra Dynamic Sky is super cool. And but like I used that for a while, like back in like May and June. And then I was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, let me just figure out how to like make skies myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then like just creating a blank scene with like sky atmosphere and the height fog and the sun and all that stuff is cool, but then there's no clouds. Then you can add the clouds, but while Ultra Dynamic Sky has really good controls for the clouds compared to like just if you just go in here and I don't know if you've done it much, but if you just go and
Mm-hmm.
create volumetric clouds, the controls are really non-intuitive. You have to like edit a
Okay.
material. It's not clear at all what the attributes do. So like obviously there's all these tutorials online of people trying to explain like what those attributes do and how to get clouds to look better. But they're extremely limited in the end of like what you can do without putting a huge amount of time.
Right.
And so that's the thing. It's like I didn't necessarily, if I'm making a scene and just doodling, like I don't even know if the sky is going to be visible in the end. So I don't necessarily want to spend a whole. So kind of like I just after a while of playing with Ultra Dynamic Sky and just like what I'm just going to do what I do in Maya, which is like just use HDRs for the sky, and then down the road I can always replace it or swap it or it's like, but do I really need the clouds to be volumetric? It's also going to slow things down. Like an HDR sky is going to
Mm-hmm.
look better because it's real.
Right.
And trying to match this kind of look seems unnecessary. Like there are thousands of HDRs online that you can get, and most games just go and paint custom skyboxes anyway. So the volumetric cloud thing is cool, but it's kind of expensive. And but obviously the limitation of it being an HDR is that the sun has to be where it is,
Mm-hmm.
because I do have a directional light in here, but if I you can see if I move it around and it's changing the lighting on like that little statue on the left, and you can see
Mm-hmm.
like the glow that's in the fog is obviously now not matching where the sun is in the HDR. And so that's the only thing is that but that's how HDRs have always been.
Mm-hmm. It looks cool. It looks really intuitive once you get it set up.
So, well, the thing is that's cool is that HDRs do seem to behave correctly with Lumen, and they also seem to
Mm.
behave correctly with um, fog. So,
That's
so,
good.
like, so like the scene that I made last night, which is this guy. And then, oh yeah, let me change my post-process volume to make it a little brighter in here. Well, I can just switch the camera. There we go.
Miguel is here. Hello, Miguel.
Miguel, hello. Um, yeah, it's like since this is so obviously there's a bunch of like nanite stuff in here, and you can see like if I go and grab, let me say go and create a new light. So I'll just create like a point light.
Mm-hmm.
So like as I'm moving this around, you can see, let me just make it a little brighter. That it just looks so much better because this is calculating lumen right now. So like the way this point light, the shadows that it's casting. If I want, like you can see right now it's casting hard shadows. Let me get a little closer in here. So, oh wait, now I need to change my camera. You know what? I'm gonna go to regular default viewport. And then let me just change my post process so my exposure is a little brighter. Okay. So yeah, so like if I grab this point light, that's right there. Like just all the shadows are just like, you know, accurate like they were with ray tracing, but it's just so damn cool how much better it looks. Then if I want it to be softer, then I can just change the source radius on it. And then now the shadows that it's casting are going to get softer. So like, let's say we look at these rocks on the ground right here. So if I put that back to 0, you can see that that's like a hard shadow on the ground. And if I start raising the source radius, it gets nice and soft, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
So just like lighting is just so much easier. I mean, it's
so
the same
fast.
it's the same as Redshift or you know any GPU renderer like Octane or whatever. So it's just to have it in Unreal is freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And then like, you know, since I have fog in this scene, like if I take this light and let's say use temperature, let's make it a warm light. And then let's go. It's like it's not affecting the fog right now because the volume scattering is really low on it. But if I raise it, now you can see that this point light is now also creating a nice glow from the fog. And it's all just, you know, seems to be free.
Yeah. There's like little to no performance cost.
No, it's like, and then with like, you know, nanite, there's like, you know, each one of these nanite meshes, there's a whole bunch of them in the scene, are like 1 million polys each. You know, and so you know, I can just fly around and it's all, you know, at 70 frames per second right now.
Did it take a long time to import those or to get them into the scene, the nanite ones?
That's really the thing is that like they're really big. So like Bridge is now integrated.
Right.
But even though it's integrated, you still have to download the stuff. So if you go to content and go to Quixel Bridge, then what's cool is that it's now in Unreal. Like you don't have, it's not a separate app. It's now part of the engine. So if I go in here, like I can see things that like I've already downloaded. But what's changed now is if I go to, let's say, home, 3D assets, nature, let's click on something. So like, let's say we click on, let me go to a collection instead. So I'm going to go to collections, Nordic coastal cliffs. And then in here, let's say I look for something that I might actually want to grab. So let's say that. So now on the bottom, you'll see it defaults to saying nanite. So if I click download, it's now going to download that as a nanite asset. But the thing is, nanite stuff, while cool, is huge. It's like a gig. It seems like everything I've downloaded that's nanite is a gig.
It's like the standard.
So like this Unreal project, which is only, you know, doesn't have that many. Let's see how many Megascans assets are in here. So if I go to Megascans and I go to 3D assets, you can see I've got what, like 11 of them in here or something. So not that many. And this Unreal project is 11 gig already.
Wow. That's That's big for 11 assets.
And well, like Valley of the Ancients, if you download it, it's 100 gigs.
Yeah, it's big.
So I think Stefan made a comment in Aaron's talk on Thursday that you just use up a lot of hard drive space, which doesn't really matter if you're just working on shorts like they are. It's obviously an issue for games,
Right.
But I can see how very easily you can end up having a project be 100 gigs or a terabyte. So that's the thing. So like for this rock, I could always switch from nanite to low, medium, or high, but and then also when you download nanite assets, it downloads all the textures at 8K.
Just big.
So, which is also big. So that's the only thing, is that it's like if I see something that's cool and I want to download it, my internet here is only 50 down. So if I click on this thing and click download, which I'm not going to do because we're streaming, and like for all I know, it's going to cause an issue. True. So that's the not too big of a surprise issue with nanite. It's just that it's huge.
Right.
So like something like I was thinking about for ArtJam is like, all right, well, I was able to make this environment last night, which is pretty awesome. But that's because I put it together using assets I already had downloaded in this project. But like I wouldn't on ArtJam want to start by going to Bridge and downloading stuff, because I'll end up spending half the stream just having to download. Because also once you export from Bridge into your Unreal file, that also takes a little bit of time for it to get it into the project and update. And there's also still some bugs. Like if you try and drag something into the project before it's finished converting it into a nanite asset and you drag it into your scene, it'll show up in the scene, but it's not actually there. And if you close the level and reopen the level, it won't be there anymore, which is also a weird bug. Anyway. And then another crazy cool thing is emissive materials cast light.
Yeah.
So that dude that's floating in the air, which I just put there just to have like a focal point, is actually emitting light.
I was going to ask about that.
So yeah, like if I let's pick a vantage point. Let's say I create a sphere. So I've got this sphere in the scene. And I'm just going to go to materials. So I've got this emissive material that I made for the little dude that's floating in the air. So if I just drag that onto the sphere. See the ground?
That's cool.
Dude.
It's super cool how fast that is.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just like, it seems like it's what you would want. Like, it's fast. It's doing the type of thing that you would want. The only problem seems to be the download speed and the file size.
And I don't care about file size. I've got a big hard drive, Miguel, exactly. Freaking Maya viewport. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous that this is possible in real time in a viewport.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so it's just I don't know. It makes things pretty damn awesome. So yeah, so that's where I'm at with Unreal 5 so far. It's just playing with, just trying it out. I'm not, I'm still doing what a million other people have been doing over, just a lot of people started the moment the early access version came out, and I just kind of kept procrastinating it. But it's like, I don't know, it's just so, it looks so much better. It's, just not having to bake is so awesome.
Yeah, that's the biggest appeal for me, is that you're not having to bake and do the whole thing every single time.
So,
and this just seems really intuitive.
yeah, the lighting is much more realistic, and so you get what you want a lot faster. And it's like, wow, that's been true with Redshift. You know, it's like you still can't whiz around your scene as fast. And the thing with Redshift is like once you add fog and depth of field, Redshift
Hmm.
really slows down. Like the updating in the render in the viewport or render view window gets way slower and gets like a lot of noise.
Hmm.
And so that's the thing that's nuts is that it's like, you know, if I switch to my other camera, let me get the let's see my camera. What's the aperture? Is at 2.8. I'm going to set it to 1.2 just so we have a really low f-stop. And I'm going to go to the post process and lower down the exposure a little bit. So if I go and focus on like this rock, select my camera, focus on this rock. Where's the focal plane? There we go. So it's like, you know, you can see that, you know, the background is out of focus.
Hmm.
Foreground thing is in focus. Just looks awesome, and there's just no noise.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So yeah,
Just looks good. It's just kind of shocking how fast and easy it seems to be to use, and how quick the results are, and the fact you're just you know you can obviously do this in other programs like you're saying, but the fact that it's so much faster, like the comparison between Redshift and this.
yeah. Well, Adamas, kit bashing is now the main way people are doing workflow now. I mean, for concept art, yeah, a lot of people. I mean, you just have to have a big library of stuff and have it organized. Yeah, I mean, whether you're doing it in, you know, Blender, like you mentioned, or, you know, like I've been doing in Maya for a long time, where you just build a library of assets and bang stuff together. You know, obviously, there's always cases where you need to model something from scratch,
Hmm.
and that will always be the case. And so kit bashing only gets you so far. But natural stuff, obviously, Megascans is just loaded.
Yeah, it's got tons of great material there.
Yeah, that's. But I still need to. I mean, I've got a list of things I need to learn with Unreal. That's pretty long. So because I still want to learn a lot about like the landscape material and
Hmm. There's a lot of cool stuff
foliage,
there.
character stuff, like the whole pipeline of taking a character from ZBrush and rigging it in Maya and animating it in Maya and getting that into Unreal. Like I need to work with that pipeline. I got a few things that are like on my list I need to figure out. But anyway,
Well, I like that you're in there already playing around with it. I think it looks cool. I mean, the sample scenes that you've set up so far are great. So it's like, what do you have an idea of what you? So do you want to do like a bigger scene? Do you think, or are you going to do a smaller scene, or just going to do some more tests?
I don't know. I mean, I think right now I'm just going to keep experimenting,
Cool.
you know, and then let me just get my post process volume back. There we go. I'm going to keep experimenting for a while.
Cool.
That's kind of what I do when I'm in learning phase is just like, what does this tool do? And try and figure it out and maybe make an
Hmm.
image that's just a result of me messing around with something.
Right.
But I also haven't tried like anything with translucency in Unreal 5 yet, like leaves and water.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, I figure I'll mess around with something. I'm not sure what I'm going to do today on the stream, but maybe I'll just take some of the downloaded stuff that I have and make another scene.
Do another test.
How's it going with your scales?
It was going okay. I don't really like the way that those were looking, and they were going to take a lot of time. So there's something to me actually that's just very zen and kind of enjoyable of just doing it by hand. It's very tedious, but for what I'm not going to try to do this thing as a crazy detailed thing. I just kind of want to be able to have it in a pose so that at like this distance it looks fine. So they're not like the most high res ever, but I think at a distance it'll look all right. So I kind of actually am just spending some time just going to detail this thing, basically.
Cool.
I have imported some alphas, so I'll probably start with those in a little bit to start enhancing some sections, but right now, doing it the old school way and just kind of going scale by scale. I like to kind of start with this, like just like a little bit of something first.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I have like a sort of a style, I think, or like a bit of detail. Like, let's see, let's go into our alphas. I think these are all the ones from the old Gnomon one.
Oh, yeah?
Like all of they're a bunch of PSDs, scaly skin.
Oh, the Aaron Sims ones.
Yeah, the older ones. But come in with, ooh, these are very strong. With some of this stuff to start defining some shapes or add some breakup to it once I've got a little bit of detail going. I'm just going to detail this thing though.
Cool. UL Adamas, do you ever fork off ideas midway so you can have a few ways to finish an idea? Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think if I'm, 3D historically has been a difficult thing to like sketch with because it was so slow. And but now with things being more interactive, then sketching in 3D, which is what like this scene was last night, is now a thing. So that means you totally can just see where things go and change your mind midway, which is cool. So because I think it's just being able to move this big mountain thing in the background interactively and just be like, maybe I want to grab and have two of them. Just the fact that this thing is like, I can see the volumetric light rays coming from the sun.
Yeah, that's
I can
so
see
cool.
the shadow that it's casting on the ground is accurate.
Yeah, that's just it's so fast. It's just so user friendly that you can do something that quickly, see it, tweak it.
And then it's like this, and the nanite stuff is so high res. I mean, it'll obviously be interesting to experiment with like making your own sculpts in ZBrush that are that high res to see how the pipeline will work for that. But ultimately, the nanite stuff is cool because it's so high res that like, even though there's a lot of pieces overlapping on the ground, like you can't really tell where they're overlapping because they're so high res. They've got all this little detail that kind of hides that border. Because that's another thing I finally figured out how to do yesterday, which is this whole thing, or is it this level? Did you ever spend the time to figure out RVT, the runtime virtual textures?
No,
Jesus Christ. It's so much more work than you think it would be to set it up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so yesterday, but the thing is, like, I really wanted to figure out how to do this blending. This is just a demo or a test scene for me just trying to figure out how to do RVT. It's the whole thing where like how you can see that the red of the ground is blending with this Megascan asset, which is obviously awesome. It's an amazingly cool feature. And it's going to continue to be useful anyway. It's awesome that it works with nanite meshes, because that was another thing I was testing, because this is a nanite mesh and it's still supporting RVT. But the thing is, there's so much little detail in these meshes because they're so heavy that like you can obviously just get them to intersect with each other, and you just get an intersection point that, as opposed to a low res geo where it would be like a hard edge. Here it's like, I don't know, they just integrate together really well.
That's cool.
But yeah, this RVT thing is cool, but it's like if I select the, you have to, if I go to the shader, you might see it's on this thing. Go to the master material. Here it is. So it's like, this is the Megascan default material. So like all of this stuff, all of these nodes I had to add just to control the blending for how one object blends into another based on the runtime virtual texture. So it's just like, geez, that's a lot of nodes to have to create just to blend one thing into another.
Right.
It's like, you think there'd just be like a button somewhere, like select two objects, blend please.
Yeah, would you like to blend this? Interesting.
But yeah. But anyway, that was just something that I was procrastinating learning.
Yeah, I didn't.
But it's for a scene like this, not really useful, but or necessary.
Right.
Yeah, I wanted to use it for my scene during the fellowship, but then like I knew that it was. I looked into it for a second. And I was like, oh, this seems kind of complicated, and it took me all day yesterday to understand how it works and figure out how to make the. Because you have to edit the material that's on the ground, and then you have to edit the material of anything that you want to blend with it, and you have to create all these different nodes. And even though you can like download a scene that already has it set up and just copy paste it, you still kind of have to understand what's going on so you can edit it. Anyway, so yeah, there's definitely still a lot of things with Unreal that are not easy. Like I wouldn't say Unreal is easy.
Is easy. Yeah.
It's just cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, I have a blank scene.
And so it begins.
So what will I do?
I'm just dragging some scales on. I'm going to try to get a base for this stuff, and then I'll sculpt on top of this.
People are so quiet today.
Yeah, quiet evening.
Anybody in here using Unreal or Blender, or curious what software you guys are all using?
Yeah, same. Somebody was saying they were trying to do some kit bashing in Blender.
Yeah. I'm not surprised that there would be Blender users.
Always. It's not Aurora says they're beginner to Unreal, so it's really interesting to see the process. Unreal's cool.
I would definitely consider myself a beginner as well. It's been May is when I started, so that's what 5 to 11. So I'm 6 months in. Ash, using Blender, Unreal, all the substances. Next year going to learn ZBrush. Awesome.
Very cool.
Well, I was thinking about making a VR space in Unreal. That would be awesome. So I have been curious about doing that as well, but from what I'm reading, there's definitely a lot of, there's still some issues, performance and VR and Nanite and Lumen and VR. So, taking an environment like this one as it's built with all the rocks and everything and making it VR, I guess, would have issues.
Right. You can see that. But
Ash, you're using all the substances. I still need to, I mean, I've been using Quixel Mixer for texturing, so I haven't tried Substance yet. So like Substance Designer or Painter, but both of those have been like things I've wanted to experiment with for quite a while. But it's like there's just so many programs
To
to
learn,
learn.
yeah.
So it's like you just got to pick a project and learn what you need to do for that project. And
Yeah.
that's the way like it's got to go, because if you just learn software for the sake of software, you'll just never stop.
Yeah, you need to have like a goal, what you're aiming for, I think. Didn't Adobe buy Substance? They did, yes.
It did not too long ago, so I was surprised by that.
The purchase.
I thought Epic would buy them,
Mm.
but that's not what happened. Okay, I need to move this thing out of the way. But I think it's cool. I mean, it's very clear that Adobe is now getting into 3D and
Yeah.
investing a lot of money in it. I've seen a lot of people lately promoting their Stager renderer.
I was,
I guess they hired a
yeah.
bunch of artists to make stuff with it, which is really smart.
Mm-hmm. I was just gonna say that seems to be popular. I think it was Geo was the person who I've seen
Yeah.
kind of promoting it, and then a bunch of other people. Somebody, Glauco, was also doing some work on it.
Yeah. Yeah, Adobe is definitely gobbling companies up. But that's what they've been doing for 20 years. So nothing new there really.
Yeah.
Yeah, something I think I've mentioned on the stream before, but every single tool that Adobe has, they acquired, including Photoshop. It's like started with
Oh, I didn't know
Photoshop,
that.
and then, well, Photoshop was developed by John Knoll at ILM.
That's true.
So Photoshop is kind of like the first thing that allowed Adobe to be a company as a spin-off from that tool that was developed internally. And then from that point on, whether it's After Effects, Premiere, like everything was an acquisition. Which is fine. I mean, that's kind of how it works.
Yeah. Just interesting to think about the kind of origins of that. For someone, let's see, another software. Yep. For someone who wants to start using ZBrush, what is some advice on how to get started? Just start sculpting. Honestly, there's some free versions of it. ZBrush Core Mini is the free version. And I think if you just get in and just start playing with it, that's the best way to start. When do you think creating will be as easy as it is in Fortnite? Ooh, interesting. like just drag and drop building stuff. It's an interesting idea.
But I
For a
think
little while.
creating as like Fortnite, like when it comes to like the metaverse and or things like Minecraft, like I think there's going to come a day where it's going to get so intuitive to build things in 3D via huge libraries that it's like Legos. You know, kids love playing with Legos, and whether it's Fortnite or Minecraft, that's like an advanced version of that, and I think it's just going to get cooler and cooler and cooler and cooler over time.
Oh yeah, for sure. People paid good money to build custom stuff in Minecraft. Yeah, I mean, that's a whole market. I think the metaverse is really fascinating. I know we've talked about it before on stream, but just kind of what that can all potentially look like and the ideas behind it all. Well, just so hard to predict what it will be, could be, like actually could be.
That's what's going on with Facebook and all the other companies that are called Meta. Probably dealing with all sorts of settlements right now.
Oh yeah.
I got some spam email yesterday from some company that was like a health provider company called Meta something.
Hmm. It's been so long since I used these alphas. I'm like having to reacquaint myself with them. And I was showing some friends in the class I teach just the other day some of the stuff some of the animals I had sculpted. And I used these a ton um, back then when I was working on Life of Pi and an Old Spice commercial where I had to sculpt a Komodo dragon. I haven't used them in quite a long time. I don't think I've done many scales since then.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever done anything scaly.
It's just very tedious to get it to like the level that you want it to be. You can
Funny
quickly
comment.
stamp on stuff, but it's just so tedious. Time to rebrand Meta Gnomon. There you go.
But sometimes in Unreal, like the hotkey Control L to interactively move your sun around.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it doesn't want to work for me.
Weird.
Why? Makes life so much easier. It's funny how things like, Maya controls, like holding down Alt to tumble the camera, which for the first couple weeks of the fellowship, I was like, that's how I wanted to use Unreal.
Yeah.
And now, like using Alt in Unreal, I hate it. Like I'm just using WASD, and that's now how I love getting around.
Yeah. Now you want
It's
that
like
in Maya.
the whole Control L thing with the sun. Like Maya doesn't have that, so I've always just manually rotated a sun. And now that I have to do that in Unreal because the Control L thing is not working, it's like, no, I must have Control L. Why isn't it working?
Save and reboot.
This is the whole I'm new to Unreal. There's probably some really dumb thing.
Yeah, there's always that kind of thing where you're like, oh, I don't know exactly what's happening. Something's going wrong. And then you have to like, that's always like, what was it? Like if you turn on caps lock in Photoshop, your brush turns into like the cursor, not the like a
Yeah,
crosshair.
yeah.
And I remember not being able to figure that out for the longest time when it first happened to me, and just being like, all right, shutting down, rebooting, and seeing if that fixes it. And it doesn't because caps lock is
Yeah,
still on. But
I think it's mean for programs to have caps lock do something other than just be for
yeah,
capital letters
and not tell you
and not tell you because then you're just like, what? Yeah,
what
I've
the
had that
hell is
happen in
happening.
Photoshop too.
What is wrong with my cursor?
All right, my directional light. Okay, let me just delete this directional light. Make a new directional light.
So if you would like to texture that dragon for film, would you export the displacement map? Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely just blocking things out so you can see this is quite rough and it's a little messier than I would want it to be. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to use like a clay brush to basically more or less like create a series of bigger scales and stuff. But um, yeah, I would definitely use something like that, a displacement map. I also saved a morph target so I can come back at any time and bring it back to the original, which has little to no detail. So if I want to push portions back, I can dial back my intensity quite a bit on that, and then just kind of subtly push areas so that they aren't as detailed. Sometimes it gets a little overwhelming with the amount of detail. It just kind of feels like it's all too much. So right now I'm just blocking it in, but I'll spend some time dialing it. Also trying to define the shape and style. Like these are very like crocodilian, where there's like small ones and then big ones. This is very like snake. Did I go to Gnomon? I did go to Gnomon. I graduated in 2009.
I'm Googling. And look, somebody else said Control L not working. No more rotation of sun. It always makes me feel good when I Google something and there's the exact thing I Googled for somebody else.
They're having it too. Find anything?
Still looking. Foffy Scrimshaw. What am I using Unreal for? I may have missed it. You said at the beginning of the stream, I assume you're not making a game. I am not making a game. I'm using Unreal just to make images and animations the way I've always used Maya, which is what a lot of people are using Unreal for now. So Unreal is a game engine historically, but now there's a lot of people using it for film and animation. So like the backgrounds in The Mandalorian, the short film that Aaron Sims showed on our stream last Thursday. So I'm just learning Unreal because it's awesome, interactive, and for doing environment work, which is something I've been doing for a while. It's just really, really cool, fun, interactive program to use. And the fact that rendering's not a thing saves a lot of time. So I'm learning it for fun, for personal work.
Ooh, I like these ones.
Oh, oh.
Did you find it?
I think so. Directional light. Yes.
You found it.
See, user error. It's because I'm an idiot. That's what it is. Well, because I created the sun, the directional light, and my height fog and my HDR sky. But for Control L to work, the sun has to be enabled as a how should I just name it out? It's the atmosphere. Under atmosphere and cloud, there's a checkbox called atmosphere sunlight. So if you have atmosphere in your scene, like sky atmosphere or fog or whatever, like does the fog and sky atmosphere react to the sun? And that needs to be on for Control L to allow you to interactively move the sun around.
To like be able to see it.
And I had forgotten to turn that checkbox on. I usually do. And so I didn't realize they were connected. Now I know.
There you go.
They're connected. Foffy Scrimshaw. Yep, it is getting used outside of game creation heavily. So like just Google virtual production. That's the term that everybody's using right now, which is kind of a catch-all term for a lot of stuff. But if you Google virtual production, you'll find all these different applications of Unreal outside of games. But the one that got everybody excited was, making a Mandalorian. A couple of years ago, Unreal did this demo with this dude on a motorcycle in front of an LED wall, like a wall of LED screens, where Unreal was driving the graphics on the LED walls, and it was interactively lighting this dude on a motorcycle, and that got everybody excited. And since then, that's kind of like a thing. All right, so I don't necessarily want to use this sky, or this ground texture. So I'm going to open.
You were wondering if you need to import the assets like they were in video games, or if you could just import a character ready for film into Unreal. From a model standpoint, you could import it, but if you need to animate it or rig it or do anything like that, you'll need to do some special stuff to get it set up for Unreal.
Yeah, Papalis, high-res geometry is doable, but the thing is Nanite, which is the new feature in Unreal that allows like millions and millions of polygons, only works for static meshes, things that are non-deforming. So like a character that needs to deform, you can't use Nanite, so you'd still be limited to like the regular pipeline of geometry resolution and normal maps and all that stuff. But the characters that are in Aaron Sims' short, The Eye, one is a metahuman, which is like an epic Unreal thing, and then the other is a creature that was probably modeled and sculpted in ZBrush and textured in something like Substance or Mari, and then probably rigged in Maya as far as skinning goes and the initial skeleton, but then they animated it in Unreal because Unreal has a new thing called Control Rig so that you can actually animate directly in engine.
Pretty crazy though.
Which is really cool.
Do that.
I know. All right, I have not tried downloading a surface as opposed to a model using the new bridge in Unreal 5, so we're going to see what's going to happen.
Let's try it, yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't kill my...
your internet.
Yeah. Well, because that's another thing, is like you used to have to specify... Let me see in here. Yeah, it's weird. So like... in regular Bridge as a standalone, when you want to
Mhm.
download a surface, you can specify your settings and like what resolution you want to download the surface as, meaning 2K, 4K, 8K.
Uh-huh.
I don't see those settings in here.
Oh,
It
weird.
just says low quality, medium quality, and highest.
Huh.
It's kind of odd.
Yeah, it doesn't sound right either. But I guess they're just simplifying it.
Let me look at my preference. Yeah, my preferences is just like where my library path is. And then this is just the Megascans plugin to control how it's going to, what master material it's going to use. So it's weird. It was kind of nice to be able to say, I only need this surface at 1K, but this surface I need at 8K.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole low, medium, high, highest is a little vague, but I'm going to choose highest and see what comes in. Yeah, they also made another change, which is weird, is in Unreal 4 with Megascans and the Megascans plugin, when you download a surface, you primarily get your albedo, your roughness, and your normal, and maybe displacement. So you get those 4 maps. In 5, you get your albedo and your normal, but then you get a map called a DR map, which is basically like a packed 3-channel map where your roughness and your displacement are in one map based on the red channel and the green channel.
Right.
But that's different than how Megascans was working prior. So the thing is that if you need to access just the roughness, you can't just like drag that texture onto something.
Right.
You have to specify the channel you want to use, which forces you to go into the material editor, which is
a little odd,
a little weird. But yeah, somebody on YouTube had like a workaround for that using a utility widget that I guess comes with the engine that you can basically separate channels out into separate textures. But even though they showed the widget, but they didn't show where the widget came from. So it was one of those YouTube tutorials where like, all right, you're clearly showing the answer, but you're not explaining
but I don't know
how you did it.
Right.
So Aquarius mentioned architecture firms use Unreal as well. Yeah, some architecture firms are doing amazingly cool stuff with Unreal. Pamte asked about computer specs. I'm on a Alienware Area 51. I'm waiting for a new Lenovo workstation, but I've been waiting for, I think, 4 months for that, just because of the backlog with everything.
Yeah.
So I really look forward to that coming, because this computer is maxed out at 32 gigs of RAM, and I need more. Just like I've had a couple crashes with Unreal 5 where I just have like things open, and then Unreal gives me
just too much.
So and then my graphics card is a RTX A5000, and that's newer.
You got that recently,
yeah. It's got 24 gigs of texture memory, which is awesome.
That's great.
Yeah. All right, this downloaded. So now I'm going to see what comes in. So add to project. Yeah, and if anybody has any questions, you guys are welcome to ask at any time. I'm just messing around.
Yeah, of course. I'm just trying to
experimenting
find the perfect alpha for scales, which is taking forever.
So yes, I've got. It brought it in at 8K.
Was that high?
Highest.
Okay.
So what I'm also gonna, because I don't really need this, okay. So if I go back to Bridge and find that same material, So here it's showing that it's downloaded at highest quality. So I'm going to set it to high quality. Click download. I bet you that's just going to be 4K. It should just specify
Probably.
that highest is 8 and
Just
high
rename it
is
all.
4. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet they just renamed it all.
Pamte, does your portfolio have to be crazy good to get into Gnomon? Yes. But the definition of that varies because we accept students with a very wide range of backgrounds because we're looking for people that have a, a creative background in some sort of visual art where we can assess observation skills and discipline and creativity and imagination. But that can come from a lot of different things. It can be drawing, painting, sculpture, photography, graphic design, motion graphics, architecture, illustration, comic art, fantasy art. Like there's 3D art. There's a lot of different types of portfolios that people have submitted that have gotten them in. So I'd say, if you're curious about where you stand, you can reach out to admissions and they will, sorry, I'm just seeing this downloaded. It did add the project. And they'll be happy to look at your portfolio totally for free. Like they'll look at your portfolio, check out your work, give you advice, tell you what you could work on. If there's things that are looking like they need some development. So our admissions department, is available to do that kind of consulting for you.
It's a lot like
really
a mentorship
helpful.
in a way. You're kind of getting help along the way.
All right, so high is 4K and highest is 8K. So now I know.
Yeah, all right.
So this little plane is going to get, well, I mean, I already have the 8K in here. So might as well put the 8K on it. But now the thing to look at, it's weird. Because this obviously is the albedo, but they're calling it _D, which is odd.
Diffuse?
Diffuse, that's right. That must be it. But that's weird because in the previous version, they were calling it albedo. So they've changed from albedo to the diffuse. And then you can see this is that packed map.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, okay.
So you can see that this is the red channel, green channel, blue channel.
Okay. I mean, it's good. They're saving a lot of memory doing that way.
Yes. So yeah, they've actually, so like the master material for Megascans has changed. So like that's one thing, like you'll see if I go into, how when you download stuff from Bridge, you have that MS presets folder, and that's where it has like the default material. That used to just have like one material in it, like just like the Megascans material. And now there's like 10 folders in here.
Oh, wow.
Billboard material, decal, fuzz, foliage, imperfection. Like there's all this new stuff.
That's cool.
I don't know what it's for, but it's cool as there. It's probably for something cool. But yeah, so this, if I go back to this surface I just downloaded, and I go to the material. So yeah, so the thing that's different, like you're right, it's for saving memory. But now under texture maps, you can see you've got albedo. So here they're calling it albedo instead of diffuse. You've got normal, and then you've got ARD. So A, which is AO, roughness, and displacement.
Interesting. Interesting.
It's interesting because then, like, well, what about Quixel Mixer? Because Mixer, I don't know. Well, actually, I think you can make packed maps out of Mixer. It's just not a default.
Right. You need to be able to, I think. Or that's got to be something they're thinking about.
Ash, in the Unreal program, did they explain why when you import textures to Unreal, sometimes the roughness comes as RGB channel and the color sometimes comes as grayscale? I'm not sure about that. I haven't had that issue. Sam, do you guys think UE5 or future releases will one day rival offline renderers? If so, how soon before we see feature film and Unreal? Well, those are two very different things. I would say Unreal will never rival offline renderers because, by definition, an offline renderer is basically rendering something that can't be rendered at 24 or 30 or 60 frames per second. So like there's always going to be something you could throw at a renderer that can't be done in real time. You could be talking about billions of particles or an avatar type jungle that literally has billions of meshes and a terabyte of textures and things that just are not well suited to a real-time renderer because of VRAM issues. So I think it'll be quite a while. I mean, it's just, I think rendering is going to be around the film for a while. But how long before we see a feature film where Unreal is used? Well, that's already happening with things like The Mandalorian using Unreal for backgrounds, and you can definitely make animated content with Unreal already. It's just there's a limit to polygon count. There's a limit to lighting is the materials that you have in things like V-Ray, Arnold, and are more realistic in the sense of how they're calculated using correct math. That stuff is coming to Unreal. So it kind of depends what you want to do.
I could see the potential of an animated film being in Unreal relatively. Doesn't necessarily need, like, you could do a simpler film like that in Unreal, like a whole film.
Yeah, like that animation that Weta did with the bird, the eagle. What's that called?
The meerkat one.
Yeah, like that's basically a short that could, you could have a feature animated film at that quality, made in Unreal.
I think that's super possible, but I don't think it'll be replacing your end game, especially stuff with live action, for everything. Not in the way that an offline renderer is right now. Just too many use cases, too many textures, polygons, models.
Well, here's another thing that's different, which is weird. So the Megascan plugin doesn't have displacement as an option anymore.
Okay. At all?
Well, because you could specify when you downloaded a surface if you wanted to add it to your project as a displacement shader or not. But here it doesn't even have that checkbox. I think I read that displacements were like deprecated, which I understand for Nanite, but like you still want to have displacement maps for things like, like I just have this ground plane in here, and in Unreal 4 would just turn on displacement for that.
Right.
On the shader.
Yeah, absolutely. That's weird.
And the displacement map is in here. It's right here on the blue channel.
It's in the net. It's already in there.
So they're still exporting it into the engine. I'm going to take a look at the master material. Yeah, that doesn't have displacement. If I go in here, there's no displacement option there. Yeah, there's still world displacement on materials, though.
Oh, there is.
Uh-huh.
So it's not like completely gone.
Looks like it's still here. It's just for some reason Megascans is not natively supporting it. It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
That means if I want displacement on this ground, I have to manually connect it.
Does not appear to be displacing.
I haven't tried the needle yet. Let's see. I'm going to just try this on a different material. New material. Displacement test. I'm going to have to Google.
Have y'all got a chance to see Dune? Thoughts on its overall design and effects? We've both seen Dune. We actually saw it together.
We saw it together. Dune was amazing. I
Yeah, it was really
loved
good.
it.
It was really good.
The production design was amazing, and the costumes and the visual effects were nuts, and the locations, and I loved it. I really want
Yeah,
to
it
see
was
it
great.
again in the theater.
Yeah,
So,
you're not going to watch it on HBO?
I really
You
like it.
could.
I mean, eventually,
No.
but I'd really like to see it in the theater again. That was such a cool experience.
Totally. Yeah, I thought it was incredible. It was slow, but it's kind of the book. It's kind of the whole style of that.
Yeah, I mean, I
Sorry,
love the
so
David
slow.
Lynch version. I love the new version. I think they each have pros and cons. Visually, the new one is nuts, but there's a lot of cool things about the original one that I think were really cool and unique. I didn't like the space navigators on the David Lynch one. They looked weird.
Yeah.
You know, which is also very different than the book. Like, you know, that huge thing that, you know, at the beginning of the movie that sees the Emperor. But yeah, I agree. The actors did an awesome job.
Mm-hmm.
But, I wasn't sure about the casting when I saw the trailer, just because I wasn't really familiar with Timothy Chalamet, but he's great. I just watched a movie with him a couple of nights ago called The King on
Yeah,
Netflix.
you watched The King.
Yeah,
What'd you
it,
think?
I thought it was cool.
It's cool, right?
Yeah, I liked it. Netflix recommended it to me, and I was just like, I'm always a fan of medieval movies
Medieval.
with knights. So
Yeah.
I saw the trailer, and I was like, yeah, that looks pretty cool, and he was great. So
Yeah,
no,
he's really good in that.
he's really really
I love that movie. The combat in that movie is so, I guess, like realistic for the time. Like it's just super brutal. They're just
super brutal. Yeah.
smashing into each other with metal. Uh, and Robert Pattinson steals like every scene that he's in as the French uh, knight that comes in.
Yeah, he was awesome.
He was so good.
The whole big balls thing with the two fists. That
Yeah,
was
yeah. And then, no spoilers, I guess, for anybody, but like his final scene is just so good. I
oh
just
yeah,
loved it. Was just,
it
and
was.
also super realistic, where you're just like, he's like, when they fight, he's like, I'm not gonna fight him in armor. And you're like, okay, weird. It's so good though. Just, I guess that movie's pretty old, not super old, but it's definitely something I would recommend as well. I liked it a lot. That was, I think, the movie where I started to have I wouldn't say more respect because I've always liked actually Robert Pattinson and I liked Timothy Chalamet, but that was when I saw them kind of like slightly differently. I was like, okay, you can do different types of roles, or when he just like there's like sort of like a transformation in Timothy Chalamet's character where he like becomes basically the king
Hmm.
and has to like rally the troops. It's like, oh, like that's a pretty cool change for that character. I liked it a lot. He starts like yelling at everybody and trying to get them all hyped up. Sort of remind me of Braveheart a little bit, like the Mel
A
Gibson
little bit.
aspect of that,
Yeah.
but
I mean, the Braveheart speech was
better.
definitely better. I
Yeah,
thought.
Braveheart's
Yeah.
better. Yeah,
That was probably the one part of the movie that I kind of got out of it a little bit,
you didn't
was
like it?
his little speech. It just felt a little forced.
Mm.
Well, I'm Googling. I remember hearing about this, but it's now confirmed from Googling. So yeah, Unreal 5 doesn't support displacements
At all?
at all.
That's so weird. I guess they're just expecting Nanite to just be the thing that people use.
It could be that it's early access and maybe it's not enabled yet, but people are saying it's deprecated and that there'll be other ways. But it's like if you have a Megascan, or if you just have any material like a displacement from ZBrush,
Mm-hmm.
then how does that work?
Yeah, what do you do with it?
Because you're obviously not going to bring in a character, for example,
Right.
that's rigged and not have a displacement map and just have super heavy geometry.
Yeah, that's impossible to.
That slows down skinning
Right.
and weight painting. It's weird.
I'm very curious to see what that pipeline is for that type of a character in Unreal 5.
Sorry, say that again.
I'm just interested in the pipeline for that in Unreal 5 for that type of a character. What they would expect you to do.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. It looks like there's like virtual height field mesh is another way you can terrain like at least a landscape with a displacement effect that's not actually displacement maps. So that's what I'm going to need to learn.
Hmm.
Virtual height field meshes. I guess it's probably similar to RVT, the runtime virtual textures.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I haven't seen this tutorial on virtual height field meshes, but one comment on it is like, In one part of the tutorial, he just opens editor widget blueprint with a huge set it up for me button, clicks it, and it sets up half a tutorial worth of stuff for him without taking even 1 second to explain what he did. Like, that's like the thing I was mentioning earlier. Like, don't do that in a tutorial.
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing.
All right, I don't know what happened with the music and that piano, but it just got a little intense.
After the last one, yeah, here we go.
Boffy Scrimshaw. I'm a big Dune fan, so it's completely stoked. I've read all the books, even the ones that Brian and Kevin Anderson wrote. I thought Villeneuve did a great job. Wow, you read all the books. I have not read all the books. That's definitely like something I'd love to do one day. Well, that's awesome that you are such a fan of the books and like the movie. So that's really cool. Pam Tay, thoughts on crypto? One surprising thought on crypto. Did you hear about Staples Center?
Yeah. Crypto.com arena, or was that what it is?
Oh man, it's so dumb. Yeah, like for those of you who don't know, in Los Angeles, there's a place called Staples Center, which is like a big arena downtown where you see sports and concerts.
Yeah, it's where the Lakers play. Yeah.
And they just announced today, I saw it in the paper, saw it on Google News, that, Crypto.com arena.
Yeah, it's insane.
That doesn't.
Everybody's like, what the hell? Like, why is it called that? But I guess. I wonder how much they paid for that.
Money.
Insane amount.
Yeah, maybe Beeple's behind it.
Oh.
All right. Well, I'm going to need to experiment with that stuff. So that's too bad that they would get rid of something so basic, but we'll see. So then I'm not going to have a displacement almost, which is fine. Okay.
Yeah, I was super shocked about that Staples Center announcement. I think everybody was. Just kind of like,
So
wait,
silly. This is so.
But I guess as far as like thoughts on crypto, it's a very mainstream way to get in. I mean, as far as like who plays at the Staples Center and the events that happen at the Staples Center, like If you want people to know about crypto, it's a way to do it. So there's obviously making huge plays. Not like they haven't already been, but it's kind of interesting.
Super bizarre.
So is this dragon for anything particular, or just personal practice? Would love to see how the dragon head is looking. It is more just for personal and practice. Just kind of doing something different and just experimenting with some techniques right now, sculpting techniques. I don't usually do this type of design or thing, so it's been a while since I've done this, so just kind of something different. Today is all about details. Right now I'm trying to figure out what I want to do for this section here, so trying to get something different in here in this area, and I'm probably gonna, let's see, we got 25 minutes left, so I'll probably put some color on this today, just to start blocking that out. Maybe that'll actually help. So let's undo that. What do I normally do? I just don't normally do things with scales, I guess. Like, I don't tend to do scaly creatures, reptile-y creatures. They're fun to do, but they're very tedious because of the amount of detail you kind of have to do and all the anatomy that's in it, the different types of anatomy, and they're just kind of frankly, just kind of a hard creature character to make. Let's just put some color in there. RGB intensity. I'm going to use, what matte cap am I going to use for my main paint job? I was thinking about green. Going for a green dragon. Ooh, this guitar just kicked in out of nowhere.
No.
No.
I say that was
That one.
That was a questionable
That was a veto
moment.
Just start somewhere in the middle. I feel like you don't see a lot of green dragons around in pop culture. You see a lot of red and black. I guess Pete was a green dragon. And Puff. Isn't Puff a green dragon?
I think you're right.
One of the Game of Thrones ones was green. I know there was a black one, and I feel like there was a red one. And I thought it was either blue or green, but I don't know. Let's see. That one is kind of the same. I guess that's kind of green. Like it's green, black, red. I guess that's a green one. Which one was that? They're so spiky in Game of Thrones. Make it a pink color? Mm. I'll pass. When you think of dragons, what is the number one dragon you think of?
Smog.
I thought you'd go Smog. I felt like that was your dragon of choice.
And then the dragon from Dragon's Lair.
That's right. I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah. Have you saved?
Oh, good call. No, I have not. I have not. Eastern dragons always have more color than Western. That's true. That's true. This one too. We need to make a new playlist and just remove some of these weird loops that come on. Elliot was Pete's dragon. Thank you. Should name this dragon Pete the Dragon. That's a good idea. Just corner that market. Icing Death, the dragon Drizzt and Wolfgar fought in the Crystal Shard. Is that a white dragon? I feel like it is, but I don't remember. I've never read any of the R.A. Salvatore Drizzt novels.
Which ones?
The Drizzt novels, the D&D ones.
Oh.
There's a whole series of those. There's another one. We've hit our good music cap, I feel like. Just jumping into all these loops. And there are 15 books about that character. Yeah, it's crazy.
Really?
Yeah. I've never read any of them, but I know it's a huge series. That and Dragonlance. I've never read Dragonlance. Which is another big one.
Made a lot of progress with your scales. It's cool.
I did. Trying to mask this by cavity. Oh, there we go. That's not working. Aha! Let's see if we can get some detail in here with this. Come back and paint some of this other detail. Is that the detail part? Yeah, invert. Hide. Choose this darker color. How would you animate the dragon? Well, you'd have to get it retopologized. You'd have to get it all set up and rigged. And then it would almost certainly have to be keyframed.
David Bro. What's up, man? It's cool to see you in here. Yeah, it'd be awesome to see you
Welcome.
animate this guy. Wasn't it you were at Gnomon, David, that we made that dragon rig for students? Let's see.
Says,
Oh,
yep. Nice.
what was that? I don't even know if I don't know if I want to know how many years ago that was. So one thing with Nanite, even if it's already downloaded, just clicking the Add to Project button
Yeah,
takes
watching
a
it go
while.
super slow.
It's like, come on, man! I just want to load this little tree. Why did that take so long? Yeah, because like you can't drag it into your scene until it's fully like kind of built the nanite,
Mm-hmm.
or else it won't like be actually in your scene. It'll look like it is, but like I said earlier, if you reload the level, it'll not be there,
Not be there anymore.
which is annoying.
Yeah, as I say, it sounds incredibly frustrating.
Let's see, what is my level? I'm in level 5. So let's see, level 5 sequences, new folder, level 5 shots. Go into there, new animation level sequence, level 5 shot 1, open sequencer. All right, so now I need a camera. I do not have a camera in here yet. Create cinematic camera actor. Add to sequencer. Now let's make this longer. Say 250 frames at 24 frames per second. Two 40. Okay. So now let's look through our camera. Oop, where am I? Closer. All right, camera. Let's go to focal length. Let's go a little wider. And
Oh, all right. We're getting close. We only got a couple minutes left. Just adding some little details here to this little piece. Trying to make sense of what these lines that I liked. I drew these lines here that I liked, but they didn't really make sense for the flow, so I'm trying to justify them. But I think it'll work itself out.
Currently drawing some scenes for a 2D animated storyboard pitch. Any software recommendations or tips? For storyboards, I would check out. We just released an amazing storyboarding title
Yeah,
with an artist from Riot.
that looked
if you go
incredible.
to he is so good, dude.
Really cool stuff.
So yeah, if you go to the gnomonworkshop.com, he's got some really amazing workflow and tips for storyboarding and creating an animatic from storyboards. So if you're interested in storyboarding, I'd highly recommend checking that out. Or if you just go to the Gnomon Workshop's YouTube channel, you'll see a trailer for it. So that's pretty recent. I think it came out last week.
Yeah,
week before.
maybe a month ago. I don't remember. I remember seeing it in my email.
Weeks. Yeah, today's release is a cool photogrammetry title.
That's cool. Yeah, I remember seeing that and be like, these are incredible storyboards.
Yeah, he's crazy good. Well, we've made it to 6.
We did it.
So even though I took a while to finally decide to make something, but at least I've got a little camera move and a simple little scene.
Yeah. Oh, nice. That's cool.
So yeah, a little dude looking off into the distance, which seems to be a thing. But yeah, your dragon looks awesome.
There. Oh, yeah, let me get some color back in there. Let's do.
Yeah,
this.
He changed a lot.
This. Yeah. Especially close up.
Oh, your internet just froze. Oh, you're back. It's funny, whenever it freezes and you come back, the music just then plays super quickly for a few seconds. It just happened again.
Yeah.
But yeah, you made a lot of progress in 2 hours.
Yeah, I feel good about it. I want to keep pushing on this one just slowly to get it all to this level. I think it'd be nice to have that. But I feel good about where it's going.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very cool.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you all for joining us on stream today. We'll be back again next Wednesday. Actually, I will be in Colorado for next week, so it might be Alex solo for our jam.
That's right. Thanksgiving week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be around, so I'll be able to do it.
Cool.
So I can fly solo for a week.
Yeah. So we'll be doing a bunch more streams. Whatever you're watching this on right now, feel free to like, follow, subscribe so you can get notifications on that. You can also look into our Eventbrite, which will give you notifications for all of our events as well. But again, thank you everybody for joining us on the stream today. It's been a fun one. And have a wonderful week. If I don't see anybody here again, have a wonderful Thanksgiving next week.
Yeah, you too. Definitely.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Later.